Now? All right.
Okay.
Okay, we're good. So I think we should just do this naturally. And yeah, so if you could introduce yourself to the camera, perhaps, what you do. Today's topic of conversation is entrepreneurialism, based on your perspective, not in the general perspective, because everyone has a general perspective. You can see online an entrepreneur is hardworking. He wakes up at 5, goes to sleep early, goes to the gym, works out. We all know this, but in your experience, what is an entrepreneur? But if you could start by introducing yourself.
Well, the most basic. Let me introduce myself first. Gustavo Lopez Ghory. Gustavo Ghory. I have a long career in the industry, in the area of supply chain, manufacturing, and everything related to the supply chain management arena. About 40 years of experience in doing that type of work. And within that 40 years, I have done quite a few interesting things globally, regionally, in different parts of the world. I actually have worked in every part of the world, every continent, and I have had local roles and regional roles, innovation roles, delivery roles, a lot of different experiences that compose like a very nice group of experiences that I can offer. In the last few years, I've been exploring the world of entrepreneurship and learning a lot of very important things. And this is a very exciting world, really, Sami. This is an area where you can, especially for people like me that worked for many years in a big corporation, Procter & Gamble, and became a executive of this company for many years and leading big organizations globally and regionally, etc., etc. There is a point in time in which all these experiences are very, very valuable and very, very good, and you want to use them in helping, I would say, society and socioeconomic development. And that's the goal I had, that I needed to use all this into something that will help prosperity, socioeconomic development. And I think entrepreneurs have that goal. They have that goal. They want to start up things. They want to discover and explore new possibilities. They want to test it and go for it. They take risk, and they unveil opportunities for people and for nations, for countries, for companies. And it's simply this way to define it is this spark that you feel to go for creating something new that will trigger growth, socioeconomic development, and it will open opportunities for people, etc., etc. It's also composed of people. Entrepreneurs are people that are more ready for risk taking than my life in the corporate environment.
Of course.
But this life on a little bit of more risk, and where you need to be very very smart on how do you go about it, and how do you fund your projects, and how do you explore possibilities, how do you push for a client or an investor. It is fascinating. For me, after all this experience I had, it's been an amazing ride and an amazing discovery of talent, opportunities, and contributions. So that, I don't know if I defined it well, but that's how I feel from my heart,
yes,
of what these guys that dedicate their life to start things is about.
Okay, you've spoken about many different aspects of entrepreneurship. One that interested me a lot was how entrepreneurs promote, let's say, economic and social growth. However, is it that all entrepreneurs are exactly promoting this, or are they promoting their own gains? For example, let's say Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. We all know now that Facebook and Instagram are having a big negative effect on especially youth, because it's changing social structures and how children or how my generation interacts with one another, how we perceive as someone likable, how we perceive someone negatively. And ultimately, we know that Facebook is selling this information to corporate in order for a greater gain. Now, as a definition for my generation, an entrepreneur was someone who went from 0 to 100, just like Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, he started in Harvard and these kinds of things. However, was it that he was promoting, do you think in his mindset he was helping the people or helping himself?
Very, very good question, Sami. Very good question. I don't know. Okay, I gotta be in his brain to know the answer, but I have to believe he wasn't clear on what he wanted.
Mm-hmm. So you believe the vision is very important?
What he had in his mind, I mean, remember this thing starts with a group of friends wanted to be connected, okay? And then it evolves to something that making people connect. There is a little book that I actually visit them once in California, and I received this little book, brochure, whatever, and there is a statement, a very interesting statement that says, this journey is only 1% done. So this visit happened maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Maybe 7 years ago. I think this is an enterprise that created a big momentum without really knowing exactly what they wanted to achieve. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's the best definition of what entrepreneurship is about. Okay. Most of people that I know are successful in this area, and I'm not saying that they are not successful.
And this area is in digital or in the area of entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship is that they have an idealistic. They have a dream. Mm-hmm. They have something they want to go for. They want to contribute with something new. They want to create. They want to bring this idea to life into a marketplace, and that moves a lot of their intentions. Okay, mm-hmm. So this is somehow a selfish idea. I want my idea to be in place. Okay, so it's a little bit selfish, but at the same time, when you are triggered at work to make it happen, you do a contribution. Want it or not, you contribute to society because you're hiring people. You are creating new type of jobs. I mean,
new type of thinking.
Totally, you're changing business models. You're opening into innovation, creativity. You really are affecting the global economy and socioeconomic development. That is for sure happening. It's happening in the right way, wrong way. You know, every person is different. Every person, every business model will be different. But in every single case, including in this case you're talking about, you know, how many people work in this company? How many people have procured a different and a better future for their families just because they work there? And this idea of that it could be a bad thing is more the human. It's more the human thing than really the product. Okay, the product has a good intention. Let's communicate. Even the part where he's selling data. If they are selling data, they're not selling the data of Sami or Gustavo. They're selling the trends of people in your profile type. Okay, and this is also another contribution to you can think about it as a contribution to innovation. Mm-hmm. Because the people that use that data are people that are creating new products that will serve your life, will serve my life, because they're going to be better targeted to my needs. Mm. So this is a very difficult conversation. I cannot judge it.
There's a great stigma on it nowadays. People are distrusting Facebook, however they still use it, and distrusting the whole system, however still using it, and there's a whole irony to this situation.
But Sami, this is very simple. Let's say you've been a user of Facebook for a long time, and then let's say you are a extreme party animal, okay, and then you publish there every crazy thing you're doing in your party life, and then you have a problem to get a job. Because people don't want to hire the party animal, they want to hire the brain of that guy, but the guy brings the brain along with a lot of issues, then I don't want the brain, or I have a problem getting the brain. That is not bad. You were using the communication means to get your life broadcasted, which I don't know how good that is, but it is good. It's transparency, it's whatever. But at the same time, there is a non-intended consequence of people judging you. Yes. But is that the problem? Is it the problem of the tool, the communication tool, or is it the problem of the people behaviors and people?
It's probably probably the people. But I feel like we've moved away from the subject now, but we have gone into the future, which is important, because I mean, most of the people who would be interested in this kind of video would be young people like me trying to get insights from an older guy, and now they're expecting me to ask the right question. So, an entrepreneur in the past was, let's say, very different. You didn't have the same networks, you didn't have the same social restraints, you didn't have Google. We have Google, we have any access we want immediately. If we want to learn about quantum mechanics, we have a website that will offer us courses on quantum mechanics from one of the greatest universities on the planet for free. And of course, if we want the little certificate, we pay for it. So we're living in this age of information. And the qualities of an entrepreneur, I believe, are changing. Can you see any of those changes?
Wow, yes, of course. Doing business 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago is not the same thing than doing business today. But there are some principles that stay forever, that are timeless. Like, for example, there is not a good idea that is not solving a consumer problem, or a person problem, or a company problem, a situation. So there is not good innovation without a problem being addressed. Innovation is not that I invented a new molecule that doesn't work for anything, that I have a patent and have a personal satisfaction and that's it. That is not innovation. Innovation is when those ideas address a problem. And then, yes, the quality, the depth of thinking, the professionalism, the understanding of the trends, etc., it becomes more and more important. Technology plays such a big role here. You can create new technologies, but the new technologies will need to solve also a problem. So there is this need for a problem-solving
via technology.
Exactly. Or idea in general. It can be a product. It doesn't need to be technology. It can be a simple product that combines all the products into one. It could be something more utilitarian. But in any case, we are solving a problem. That's very important. We're solving a problem with a new idea.
Okay. And you said about having the idea is important, but implementing the idea, there's a skill in that sort of along. I've heard this quote from a class I had in Global Civil Society. It was called, "Focus on what you do best, network the rest."
Okay, very good.
Idea being that do what you know how to do and find other people to do the things that you don't know how to do and better. But you know, the biggest challenge I feel someone my age has, for example, when they want to start a business is, okay, I have an idea, and I've thought about it, I've written posters, I've made huge murals of my idea, and you know, I have this self-satisfaction of I'm a smart guy, look, I wrote all of this.
Yeah.
Now, how do I start step by step, concretely doing the actual work? Because someone who works in a big company like you know step by step what I must do. Whereas an entrepreneur is like a floating entity that isn't quite sure what he's doing, and his feet aren't always on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps you could expand a little bit on.
Yeah, I would say that the skill set required to execute and bring the idea to life are as important as the idea generation point. Okay, and young entrepreneurs need to be smart enough to understand there are limitations to their smartness. You're an extremely smart guy, but you don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know everything as well, you know. So if you have a good idea that you want to test, it's always important that you consult, check, and talk with other people, and then receive some guidance on how to execute it. But every idea is like we all learn in an early stage of our education. We learn things like the scientific method. To learn about something. Okay, you have an idea, you have a hypothesis, and you want to test it. You create an experiment, you validate the experiment with the control, and then you analyze data. And I got, you know, before you become into writing a law of physics or a law of chemistry or whatever, you do all this process. Same thing happens with ideas that we want to turn into products to the market, solving a problem. The hypothesis being, I believe this product will solve this problem. How do I test it? So that thinking, you have that thinking. You might not have the connections, the specific project management skills to do it, but there is plenty of people that have those, and you can leverage those resources without losing your idea, without losing the uniqueness of what you want to do.
Yes.
And I think that's the new. What I would add to your thinking is, it's good to have an idea and a dream, all the drawings you set and you put on the wall, and then I have seen that it will only make it come into reality if you really support yourself with others. So this thing about network the rest, it's not a bad concept. It's a really good concept. At the same time, entrepreneurs are normally rich people. They don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're doing the second, third, or fourth, and you've been successful in the past. Or you don't want to use all the way you support your family, all this money into the idea. So how do you leverage also the funding mechanisms to provide to do this work? Because some people provide the service, but they charge you.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a program manager, and he has expertise on the sequence of steps to do it, and but this person will cost you money.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we balance all of these things? And now you need to have people that help you think strategically on how to come up with negotiations with these type of people in a way that maybe you go to a model of success fees, or there are many.
I think success fees is the easiest way to, let's say, start a business. You get the person interested in the idea. They will work because they believe in the idea as well, which will make them work even harder, which I believe. Because if you pay someone to work on an hourly basis, I feel like they will do the minimum or the just enough in order to satisfy, especially if they're in a big company, because the company represents, let's say, the work and not them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pay them based on success, don't you believe they would work a bit harder?
There's always an incentive for people to have to come along with big success, so they have the benefit. But I do believe that if we want to get into this conversation into the area of compensation and keeping the workforce connected, etc., that's a totally different conversation that we might have. And there's going to be a ramification that is long and big. I really think the idea owner, the creator of this idea, should have the ability to demonstrate through passion and commitment to the idea to bring people along, to get followers into it. It's exercise a good leadership skill that will bring along resources to deliver the project. But that's a little bit also romantic. You don't want to go all to the romantic side of things. So bringing people along, making you fall in love with my idea, and be part of this idea by love, connection, and then compensation. But compensation plays a role. Okay, you cannot have everybody loving the idea because of that they do work. Okay, that is not going to happen. But I will oppose the idea of that if you get paid, you only do enough for the pay. I think people if that's the case, you don't need this person in your team. You need people in the team that really love the idea, want a passion for it, and they know they will get compensated fairly, and they trust the idea as much as to do it that way. So. But it's a big topic. I would love to talk because I have passion for that topic as well. It's a leadership topic.
Yes, because with your company, you obviously have a lot of people that are working under you, and to perhaps start that company, you have to display your passion to them, seduce them, perhaps, and move forward.
Yeah, in big corporations, we have a lot of people with different interests. And there are people who they don't care much about the compensation, but they care about the future. So they do stuff so they look good to become to be promoted. Okay, so other people because they want to be the thought leaders in the area. There is different motivators by different people, and a good leader needs to look at those in an integral way.
Identify what motivates them, and offer them this possibility.
And there is also fit for use and non-fit for use. Some people will not fit into, so you don't know. You don't need those guys. You need the people that will really drive your idea, but you also need to be fair to them on how you compensate and reward them. You cannot be using people neither. So this is a two ways, and like any other job relationship, where I put a lot of specific weight on the importance of a good leader, being a good leader, leading this with the right way. I put a lot of weight there because I think
there
that's
must be a balance between.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, my last avenue, which is perhaps the one that would interest most people, because of course not everyone has the same idea about I'm going to create a product or a service and I'm going to sell that service. Other people have different ambitions, and I'm sure you believe an entrepreneur is not only someone who creates a product and makes money. Anyone can be an entrepreneur. A barber can be an entrepreneur. He can focus in his avenue of cutting hair and in such a way and gaining a notoriety because he believes in the way he cuts hair. Okay, perhaps it's not the best example, but a question on belief. Because of course, working to a goal that is uncertain requires a lot of drive and momentum. How do you personally keep up this momentum? What do you tell yourself?
I happen to have and I don't know if this is unique or not, but I happen to have something that has helped me for many years in my life, my career. I have strength in my will.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know everybody is will driven as much as I am. Yeah, I've always been like that. So in that respect, it's almost a philosophy of life. So I will answer my question based on the bias of how I have lived my professional life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been always driven by this will that I know it's going to be better if I do this and that, and I am so convinced that I drive it with all my life, all my passion, all my strength. Mm. I get up in the morning and quick enough I'm ready, and I call it myself, I say I'm ready for the battle, for the battle of today. So I go all day long battling it, okay? And making sure that I battle in the right way, in the right direction. I ask to myself every day, did I deliver today's expectations? Check or not check? Did I prepare for tomorrow's expectations? Check or not check? If I don't check in the two of them,
this is the supply chain.
Every single day, I do corrections, adjustments tomorrow. But not everybody will have a method like that or a philosophy of living like that. I think what is important is that the person leading the project, the person leading the idea, is able to keep the big picture alive while working the details. Mm-hmm. Because the details will get you frustration, it will bring you obstacles, it will bring you difficulties, problems, delays, lack of money, lack of resources, lack of whatever. If you will face things like that every single day, and if you don't have the big picture alive and keep it alive for your team, you're gonna lose it.
Of course.
Okay?
Yeah.
You start losing people that start not believing in the idea. This is too difficult. It should not be that difficult. You know, we tried this thing 20 times. You know, why do I do it 21 times now? And the only way to really make it happen is that we try it again. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you keep this idea. This leader needs to be able to articulate why it's so important that we've done it 20 times, but we will go for time 21 now, and the reason is this and that, whatever it is. But keep alive this this thing that for me is a will that drives me. For other people will be other things, but or let's say this way, to trigger that same level of will on others. If you are not able to do that, you might not be the right leader for this. You might have a brilliant idea, but you don't know how to get people behind you, and that's another big topic of conversation. You know, what is a leader of change? A leader that is able to really figure a change and make it happen, versus just a leader that has, you know, the single contributor that has a good idea.
Yes,
it's a totally different thing. Yeah.
So a leader of change is. Let's brush briefly on it because now you're interested. In order to be a leader of change, from what I understand, what you're telling me is you must have the overall idea up there, which is your dream, but you must also have your feet on the ground, which is the details. And the details are not the most fun to deal with. And what drives you is this vision of the future.
Yeah.
And in order to be a leader of change, from what I understand, is you must show this vision that you have, which is very difficult to show in the first place to anyone, to your, let's say, how do you call it, not subordinates, but your
team.
Your team, yeah, okay.
Your team.
Your team. Yeah, in order to motivate your team, is it should you, I don't know, perhaps expand on
Sami, I don't know exactly where you're going to go to, but it's a basic of leadership, no? You need to be able to dream a change, and you need to be able to articulate the change.
Yes.
And articulating the change is as important. And when you articulate a change, you really have to work on make it compelling to your team.
Yes.
So why is this so important for all of us, not for me, for all of us, that we deliver this change, that we deliver this new vision, that we deliver this new dream? If you cannot articulate that, it could be two reasons. One is not compelling enough, or you simply have you don't have the ability to. So if you don't have the ability to, you can be coached to do it. But normally, I expect a leader that has a great idea to be able to compel others into it. But probably that's my bias. Okay, it's not necessarily the truth, but it's my truth on how I would like it to play. So communicating the strategy, communicating the being able to be compelling enough for your people to follow it, and then to your people, you cannot let them guess too much, because they're gonna get lost. So you have also the mission, the work of defining a potential roadmap to get there. Like, what are the big building blocks that you believe, I use the word believe, you believe are critical for us to deliver this dream, this vision. And in many cases, you need to be ready to modify the building blocks. So we're going to learn together. You bring everybody with you. We're going to learn together, and if we need to modify these building blocks, we will. So, but in the meantime, let's all work in our piece of that building block, and we evaluate and grow. Many times what happens is that leaders are not ready to learn together. Okay?
With their team, or learn from their team, or learn from
the whole thing. You need to be always open to learn from your team, because they will always teach you something you don't know. I don't believe in those leaders that believe they know everything. There is no such a thing. Okay? There is a pose that, because I am the big guy, kind of people expect you to know more than you should, that you do, and you expect to you try to project that you know more than you really do. So, and those are two things that should not be clear, because the best you can have from a leader is at least a transparency that when he or she doesn't know about something specifically, be able to articulate it as well. This is what I want to do. I have no idea how to get there. Do you want to be with me in discovering the path forward to get there, or not? That's a different question than this is what I want to do, figure it for me, or this is what I want to get, and this is the way to do it. And maybe the way to do it is totally going to a different direction, but you don't know that until you know it. So you need to show you need to be humble enough to learn and adjust your plan.
And ask the right questions. Yeah.
And understanding that the bigger picture is what you want to get. Now, this one is interesting. When does the leader changes the bigger picture?
The big picture?
The big picture. Let's say this. The leader has tried it, has tried that, he learned this, he learned that, and it comes to a point where maybe this vision I have is not that good. It's not that it's not possible, it's that maybe this is not where we should go. I learned so much about other things and I need to change that vision.
But wouldn't you only realize that when you have a better vision?
Or a necessity. For example, in startups, in the technology arena, there is something called pivot. No, you pivot to a different idea. No, you might. Let me think about one.
Yeah, something that started in one industry and just ended up being used in another industry because
Slack. You know Slack? Slack Enterprise. Slack is like let's say it's a communication tool for enterprise. Okay. So everybody in the company will be having these means of communication. You have conversations. You share documents. It's like an internal email, I can call it. Slack was if I don't remember wrong, started with the creation of a game, and ended being, and then they created this thing, this group of guys.
This work environment.
They started to create this thing and started communicating like that, and it was so effective. The game didn't work very well, and they said, why don't we launch Slack? And they're selling Slack now. Okay, so that's a pivot. Okay, that happened because of circumstances or whatever. But in some cases, there are many cases of leadership. Leadership ideas, leadership visions and dreams that need to be modified in a point in time. And I'm going to give you an example of 1921, early 1900s, with one of the best leaders that have been in history, which is Mr. Ernest Shackleton. I don't know if you know about Shackleton, but Shackleton is an explorer of the Antarctic.
Okay.
Okay, he passed away in 1921 in a heart attack in one expedition to the Antarctic. His dream was, I will go to Antarctic with my crew. I will cross the Antarctic with dogs.
With the sleigh dogs?
And walking, and I will come back, and I will go back to the UK alive with my team. Okay? He never achieved his dream. He never achieved his dream. And he went in about 3 or 4 expeditions.
Okay.
One expedition that he owned himself, he has the best chance to get to achieve his dream. They had their ship went sink.
Oh,
okay? And at that moment, he changed his idea. Okay, now my mission is not to go to Antarctic; it's to save every single person in my crew.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a bigger, it's a bigger objective, it's a bigger.
I say flexibility is very important.
Yeah, it's very important that the leader understands
that it's not a straight path.
Because you need to be a little bit obsessed about your idea. But if you're obsessed to stupidity, you're losing it. Okay, so he could have said, no, we keep going, we walk, we do whatever. He's gonna get, everybody's gonna go dead in a way to achieve this goal. That he didn't do that. And there are books and books written about the leadership profile of this guy. So for you and the students that can see this video, if you get interested on somebody that
was the name of the guy?
Exemplary on leadership skills, this individual, Ernest Shackleton.
Shackleton.
Yeah.
Okay. And the book is called?
I believe it's called The Endurance. Which is the name of the ship. Okay.
Well, keep that in mind.
But there is a movie also. The movie there are a couple of very boring documentaries about him and his leadership thing.
Watch the movie.
But there is a movie that is really fun and cool, and it takes a long. It's a long movie, but it's such eye-opening.
Powerful.
Well, not everybody look at it as people look at it as an adventure movie, which it is. But more importantly, if you see it from the eyes of you're analyzing the leadership profile of this guy, you will learn tons of things.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I'm making that publicity for a Shackleton.
It's very good. I mean, a lot of us learn now from watching things online everywhere.
Yeah.
And we have information overload, so it's good for us.
Good.
And we spoke so much. I lost the point I was going to ask you, but perhaps the last point is: what can someone who doesn't, because everyone knows that. Let's say an entrepreneur who knows he's an entrepreneur, but perhaps has no goal, knows that once he has something that he starts, he will put everything in it and focus his mind, and really drive through that. But someone who doesn't have not a goal yet, but a vision, let's say a vision, a goal, an idea to follow. What should he do? A lot of us now, we pack ourselves full of information here, there, nitpick from here and there, but what are practical things that someone can do in order to expand their mind, and when things finally do happen for them, how can they then put themselves into this mindset of, I'm going to do this?
And I'm not sure I captured the whole essence of the question, but obviously an idea needs some maturity. And maturity comes along only if you have spent enough time in thinking it, studying it, and researching towards it. So I would say those are the things you would do. You need to analyze, you need to research, you need to compare, you need to validate, you need to experiment. Experiment is probably the one more powerful of all of it.
And understanding how to experiment.
Yeah, for example, in the innovation that I'm working right now, we do have an amazing platform, a digital an algorithm that logically takes you to defining a glide path to factory of the future for manufacturers in the industry. And this has, you don't know how many ramifications and things. So how do we mature this idea and come up with something that we really want? Well, we had an ideal state kind of thought, and we've been testing it by pieces, and we tested recently on an integrated way as a totality. But before that, we learned and researched a lot of the pieces, and we went to real life industry to test those concepts. We went to academia to check with them and learn with them together, do research and stuff like that. And we, with time, we have composed the idea to a maturity level where we think, when we thought a few months ago, we were ready to go out. And so it was early in 2018 that we started to really knock the door of people. Okay, you know, this is our product, and we're going to test it with you. The transformations have happened even before that. Have been amazing, but it's what I'm calling getting your idea to a maturity level where you feel like now I can go out because now I got it, I figured what I wanted, and there is something about data validation that you will get, but there is also something about how you feel about it. Okay, there's a gut check on this thing. Man, I got it. Normally we're talking about something that is new to the world, but I had a point of realization that with this idea that we're working now. The smarter chains is that when I could compare it with my own experience in the industry trying to do a similar delivery without having smarter chains, okay? And I realized that I simply wish I would have had that or something like that when I was doing my work. I would have accelerated resource for easily 10 years, and I would have spent much less money than I did to achieve the same type of results. And when that is probably...
of course, you were the customer and now you are...
Yeah, exactly. But it's also the validation of that gut checkpoint. It has made me the most passionate seller of the idea that you can think
Your
of.
gut feeling is your...
Because I saw it, okay? This beautiful idea now is such that it could have saved me 10 years of...
It's interesting you talk about the gut feeling, because I was just reading about Nikola Tesla, who is a scientist, obviously. He was a bit of a lunatic scientist who was creating all sorts of crazy ideas, but he was saying the most powerful instrument you have in your body is not your mind, but your intuition, your gut feeling. And it's interesting you say that your gut feeling is what helps you to sell and puts momentum into your idea.
Yeah. This is fascinating conversation now, okay? That's another 2 hours of conversation. It happens to be that there is no substitute to knowledge. There is that phrase. I don't know who was the one that said that phrase. I don't remember right now. It was probably even Einstein. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is that intuition is knowledge, and a lot of people don't recognize it like that. Actually, when I said many times in my career, intuitively I think this is wrong, or intuitively I think this is right. What I'm saying is that I know it's wrong, I know it's right. Okay, I know because it comes from knowledge base, my knowledge base, my recollection of experiences, data points, whatever. Okay, and the problem is that not everybody interprets intuition as knowledge, but you don't have intuition if you don't have knowledge. Okay, so intuition is a reflection of your knowledge. That feeling is a reflection of that. Therefore, I don't discount intuition. I think intuition is more powerful than just knowledge, and I'll tell you why. Intuition is the internalization and then the reflection of that knowledge versus just data collection. So there's a lot of information you are collecting.
Now that I think about it, the amount of books I have read on each and every subject, okay, it's not like a book on a story, but let's say a self-help book on subliminal messages, on all sorts of, I can't remember now. But anyway, there's so many details in them. You cannot possibly remember all of them, and you know, this situation, okay, go back into my mind, find it, reflect upon it, and go out.
Most likely you will not, or
most likely,
you know, a big percent of your time you will not be able to do that, to trace it back. Yeah.
No, so
but it came. It became part of your background knowledge, your institutional database. Or I don't know how to call it, but it becomes part of you, and you act and guide and lead and do things based on those knowledge, that knowledge that you have collected. So many times when people say, my gut tells me this is not right, or I would prefer to such and such, I listen to that. Many times even more than the guy that says, this chart reflects that it's wrong. Okay? Sometimes the data might tell you, this is the direction, and you say, yes, but I don't feel it right. So then I pay attention to say, tell me why you don't feel it right. And I probably discovered something that we are not seeing with the data.
But what if you have an intuition that, let's say you have a gut feeling that the data is showing you that, yes, move in this direction, but your gut is telling you, no. What if you cannot explain this feeling? Who do you trust that?
What I have done in those cases, I have said that to the team. I don't know why this doesn't feel good to me. So could you please help me to explain to me why it is right and what is not right? So
now, why would I be?
And that sparks. If people, especially if people trust you, okay, as a leader, people will, this will spark a nice conversation. Well, people will contribute to the conversation and be among the group a little bit patient with each other to come up with a better idea or to confirm that idea. It has always worked for me. I think it's crucial that leaders don't play the game that I got it and be honest with I didn't get it. So let's go for more. Or I get it, but I don't think it's right. That conversation is very good for the team, for the health of the team. Even if at the end you conclude that it was okay or it wasn't bad, you know, whatever conclusion it is, for the process of the team will become will make the team stronger.
Training the mind as well.
It's better.
It's like training the muscle of the mind.
It's an enrichment opportunity, so you have to go for it.
And then it's interesting because now we're moving into a world of digitization and. Of course, I'm trying to push something with RFID technology and calculating everything, and we will obviously be collecting more and more data, and we will have everything in data. But then, yes, it's an interesting question: do I trust the data or do I trust my intuition? Which one do I trust? Because at the end of the day, data is just a 1 or a 0. It's either this or it's either that, or okay, through algorithms, it's either something like But yes, it's an interesting point you put on this.
That's a good point, Sami. But I don't want you to go all the way to. I mean, it's not a pendulum, okay? You cannot not trust data.
Okay?
Yes, no. It's data.
Yes, it's data.
Data reflects facts, so you cannot just ignore it. But what you cannot do is to conclude something that it doesn't have a logic in your system with that data. Without having at least a process to understand and digest even further, or pre-align or realign.
And I think how you collect the data and what you collect on is also very important.
That's a good point, because many times, the data suggests that we should not launch this product, but let me check the questions you ask to people to validate that data. And it happens to be that people, the way you ask the question got data biased, okay? Like it's different if I ask you, do you like these glasses? Or do you like it? Don't you hate these glasses?
They're a bit small.
You said, don't you get these glasses? Maybe the hate word already influences the answer. So I am leading you to an answer, versus I am asking you a very objective, unbalanced, unbiased question. So it is data is a fact, but data is also a result of something.
Yes, and we like to think that data is a fact, but yes, how it was collected via, let's say, humans asking these questions, and these humans have the bias, therefore the bias in the data as well.
Well, that's why there are companies specialized in doing research, human research, product research, consumer trends that are paid a lot of money to do very objective analysis. But even in those cases, I believe, because we are the people hiring those companies, we might influence actually even what we want to get. So, but a good leader is open to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
A good leader will penetrate data until it makes also logical sense, not only data translated into an action. And I think that's our mission as leaders. For example, me in a big corporation, or a leader of a team, or a leader of an idea. I think we have that obligation. We need to search for that truth, so we make decisions that are based on the best possible knowledge, facts, more balanced possible.
It's quite a lot of information, but yeah, this is more talking. We've been talking about entrepreneurship on, let's say, at final level, where you're starting to really gather data on things. Because in the beginning, I'm imagining most startups are based on intuition. You can gather data, but ultimately what led you to gather this data was your intuition into looking at this idea. So, yeah, this was a very interesting conversation.
I think probably the way to get started with a more solid step forward is ask to yourself the question, what problem you're solving?
What is the problem you're solving?
If you cannot define the problem you're solving, you might not do anything. You just have a good idea in your mind. And it's great for you, but it's not going to contribute to prosperity, growth, socioeconomic, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we said already. But the very first question, innovation. Entrepreneurs are about innovation, okay? Now, some people say, no, I'm an entrepreneur because I have opened 20 restaurants. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
But it becomes repetitive at a certain point.
But when we're talking about the bigger contribution that entrepreneurs are to play, because I am a believer, also we haven't talked this topic, and that will be another conversation, is that historically, big enterprises have been the engine of development and growth in the nations and the globalization, etc. But the truth of the matter is that the trends continue indicating that most likely entrepreneurialism is what guides that future.
Mm-hmm.
So socioeconomic growth, prosperity, and the future of macroeconomic
it's interesting you say that.
increase.
Could you identify for me an entrepreneur, not from the modern age, but from the ancient age, the first thing that comes to your mind? Someone who is pushing innovation forward. I would think something like Christopher Columbus. His idea of let's go that way and find something.
Well, I'm going to tell to you about P&G, Procter & Gamble. I mean, those guys in 1837, I think was it. These two guys were married to two sisters. So they were related family wise, and they had $3,000. And they come up with the idea of they live in Cincinnati, Ohio, which was a town where a lot of German people came and settled there. And there was a big ground of, it was a pig farm. And so the use of the fat of the pigs was used to produce candles.
Really?
So they launched candles in the marketplace with that.
Made from pig fat.
Yeah, and they also produce then soap with the pig fat. So tallow. Tallow is a key ingredient for soap. So what did they do when they just created that, and that
did
was.
the people know that they were burning pig fat or using pig fat shampoo?
No shampoo. No, soap is tallow. Today you shower with fat. I mean, soap is fat. Yes. Soap is a big portion of soap is fat, animal fat, tallow, or many companies are, P&G one of them, have moved to other type of fat, but like vegetable fat. But fat is a key ingredient for saponification processes. I'm not going to talk now.
This is the most exciting
but,
thing I learned.
You know, it's one of the key ingredients for soap, for to wash your body. The bar soaps I'm talking, okay? And then you know they created what the monster company the P&G is, with just launching candles and distributing candles, but they were very smart because they use historical moments to even be more important for the economy and for prosperity.
What do you mean by historical moments?
Let's talk about okay. The invention of electricity is the end of candles, no? At that time, at that moment they were inventive enough to create new products, and we
so scented candles.
But the company stayed, survived, out of entrepreneurship, innovation. They solved other problems. Soap, one of them.
So don't get too comfortable with what you're doing.
They solve other problems. Good entrepreneurs are always thinking about the next step. What is the pipeline of innovation you have? If you already launch a market, a company, with this traceability for consumption products idea that you have, for example, Sami, how are you renewing that? Do you have a pipeline of, because a lot of people will follow you, and they will copy you, and some people might have even more muscle than you to take the market.
Yeah.
So it's a competition as well. You know? So how do you get into being the one that is leading the thinking and the next generation of the same product in the marketplace? How can you be the one that discovered the 2 cents cheap versus the 18 cents, okay, per item? How do you become? You expand the memory of this little thing to go beyond consumption. By the way, you're going to be doing the same thing Facebook does. It's going to be selling data of my consumer habits. You know, how fast I drink the milk in my refrigerator. So how do you become the one that every consumer will trust, because you are responsible with the data? You know, what are the problems, the list of problems that you might want to address with this idea?
You see, there's so many questions in this. Like, for example, you have one which is the social problem. How do you handle your PR? How do you handle your marketing as part of the PR? How do you handle your supply chain? How do you make the chip and everything cheaper, margin? You know, these little costs that you find. Instead of finding for like a bigger dream, you doing everything, delegate these processes to other people, and you have to, of course, trust them.
I will talk about a different word, but the same idea. I hope you mean, who do I partner with to do this idea, more so than delegate. Okay? There is a bossy environment when you say delegate, and I will check on you and delegate. And that might be good in many instances in your in your professional life. But you are inventing, you are creating. You want partners that will come along with you to make the idea viable, technically feasible. Viable, I mean economically viable, and I help you to bring it to life. Those are, in my eyes, partnerships.
Okay.
You know, no subordinates.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's about. I've been using very poor terms.
No, it's okay. I mean, come on. Of course, it's okay, but because what you mean is the same thing I mean, and I'm just trying
it's
to.
just that I'm a very blunt person in
guide your thinking, because there is a slightly important concept between partnering and delegating, or subordinating, or hiring, or buying, or you know, all of these things are slightly different. But in the entrepreneurship environment, they are even more meaningful. Because nobody wants to be. People wants to be part of the bigger picture. Okay, it's like, are you cutting stone, or you are part of the building a church?
Yeah, am I part of this, or are you just using me, paying me?
I'm just a guy that cuts stone, or I am the guy that, you know, because it's a stone, we can build this church. So I play the bigger picture. At the same time, I do my small activity. I think that's the sense I'm trying to transmit here, especially because you guys probably are all potential entrepreneurs, and
I think everyone is a potential entrepreneur, but I think
good.
people like They prefer comfort over trying new
Or
things.
there are needs also. I mean, I remember back in 1981, I was looking for a job. I would probably have an idea, but I would not even try to go for it. I needed a job. I didn't need to be the inventor of anything. So when I was looking for a job, and actually my interview was about that. My interview was in a point in time in P&G. They asked me, well, "What do you see yourself doing if we hire you?" And I said, "I have no idea. I have no idea that But I said that I can tell you three things. I can tell you that if we need to redesign the operating units of the operation, like recalculate the drying tower, I do it. I do it. If we need to clean the floor, I clean the floor. If we need to write a contract, I write a contract. So I just need a job. That's how I finish my conversation, my answering that question. And the next question that came to me is like, what size of shoes do you use? So I said my size of shoes, and I said, why are you asking that? I said, well, because I need to order your safety shoes for you to start tomorrow in the plant. Oh, okay. So he was making an offer by asking me about the shoe size. It's a very interesting and beautiful story on how I got into this amazing journey that I had with P&G.
So you actually started on the...
when I graduated, yeah, I had worked in other places, but with my diploma, the first job I got was P&G, and in 1981, and it was a fantastic ride for many years. So nothing to complain about that. My alma mater, everything very good, very positive about it. But what I'm trying to say with that example is there is something that I call it will now. We call it motivation, motivators in the sense of how a leader of change brings people to a change and keeps people in change. I might summarize it with the words of, it's about work ethics. And unfortunately, the comfort of the modern life has diminished the work ethics of the new workforce, the new generations.
Yes, I noticed as well that when I speak to a millennial generation, especially the ones in P&G, they really don't like working there anymore. Lots of them are complaining about little nitty things, and I'm like, it's a job, you cannot expect too much from your employer. But they're expecting all these little benefits and how they're being treated. Yes, they have gotten more and more sensitive over the years.
I think we all need to suffer a little more than we do, so we value a bit more what we get. And I don't know. Every person is a different world, and they will have different expectations on how they go about these things. But I think when there is a common denominator in a whole generation, we need to question it. And I think people my age destroy the next generation because we gave them too much. We gave them the support of doing whatever they wanted, and we convinced them they could do whatever they wanted also. And because you always can, okay? We were so positive on that, and you don't want to suffer. I don't want you to suffer what I suffered to get what I got, and therefore we created people that they believe is that easy. We convinced people that were so easy. I don't know if this is a good explanation. This is my explanation about what happens with that generation that has better education than ever before, better possibilities than ever before, but less. They are performing less because they don't have the necessary work ethic.
What do you believe should be added to their work ethic in order for them to strive for what they really want? Because I mean, a lot of them are having problems in that they want something, but they're not prepared to put the work into it.
I think people don't know how to dream, and so dream becomes a skill almost. Dreaming becomes a skill, and then through your dreams discover your passions, and then.
Can I write that on my CV?
Yeah. You need to think about. I ask people normally when, can you describe to me the 2, 3, or 5? But if you have 5, it's like I will be very impressed. Two things that when you do them, you forget about the environment around you. You are all about only that activity. You're so in love with it. You're so passionate for that activity that the world doesn't exist, time doesn't pass. You don't even know what's going on.
May I ask what would be yours?
You know, mine is leading people. It's working with people, coaching people, making a team to be a winning team. And I'm adding new passions to my. But that was my driving force for many years in manufacturing. I actually went out of manufacturing to have what you look at that moment, a more exciting potential career path, and I learned quick enough that I was making a mistake because I was removing myself from where people are, you know.
You're a very people person.
Yeah, 60–70% of people in a big corporation are in manufacturing, and I was moving to another area, pursuing a different career path. And I said, no way, you know, I cannot do this. I'm going to be a failure because I'm not going to be happy here. I need to go back to where my passion is. So I kind of rediscover what moves me every day. And I went back to my supply chain career where I have a lot of people. And ever since, I never looked back. It was the best decision I ever did. I became so relaxed about that I'm doing what I really know is my thing that I should say that I became even more successful after that big event in my life, which happened, you know, maybe almost 2/3 of my career. So I think it's finding the passion, your passion, and then going for it. So don't work in something that doesn't connect with you. Now, most of people don't know what their passions are. So how do you discover your passion if you don't try? Okay, so you have to also be an explorer. And naturally you are an explorer, a human being.
It's in our genes.
Yeah, so you need to go for it. And exploring might be expensive and lengthy, but also can be very pragmatic and useful. Don't get a job that doesn't tell you anything. It's not relevant to you. Doesn't speak to you. But even if you take one that does, be watchful of what really this opportunity will give you the chance to really fulfill your dreams or enjoy your passions. That's very important. But that's another big conversation. You know, we cannot have it right now. That is very important.
I'll get a better camera crew for that.
It's very important for young people to think about it. For everybody. I always said, if you are confused, that's good.
Really?
Yeah, because if you're confused, you're going to be curious. You're going to be exploring. You're going to be asking questions, you know, because you're confused. And out of this exploration, searching, questioning, digging, you might find a big aha of your life. Okay. And if you're not confused, you've never been confused, I have a problem with you, man. You haven't been curious enough. You're not daring for anything. You're not being independently thinking about anything. You're just following, which is not bad. You all need to know how to follow, but it cannot be that you have where's your you? Where is your you?
What makes you?
Let's find that you that you have inside you, and then let's spark it. Let's awake it. And because that's where the best of you is, that's where the best of you resides, and that's the one I want to put in play, the best of you. So think about those things as well. I will stop here because I can go in another one.
I'm just thinking about my passions as well. Like what do I do that really consumes me, takes me? And right now I can only really think of something I've been doing since the age of let's say 13, 14. I would take my bicycle and go to the mountain that you see over there and just find paths, follow paths, and really be immersed by the whole, like the road and how to control the system. And then I got a motorbike, and then it went into there, and I started tuning the bike, and people thought that I would become a mechanic because I liked playing with my bike. No, all I wanted was it to go faster. Then I got a car, but I noticed along the way it was a repeating pattern. The vehicle changed, but the mile and the person did not change. And what really a pastime, you could say. I can't really find a way to create value from it aside from making a club, which I have this motoring club. It's really, driving, feeling the car, feeling the sensation, the speed, the momentum, you feel the car, you feel that a different car handles differently in different situations. You know which corner you can take faster, which corner you take slower. There's a whole art to the whole thing, and I really enjoy this art, and it's like a release for me, it's like a meditation.
Very good. Now,
leadership, I don't know yet. I'm still new to this.
No, keep going, keep thinking. I mean that you will discover more passions in your life, and there is something that a friend of mine told me this 2 weeks ago. A friend of mine I was in Colombia and I had this dinner with him, and we were talking about passions and dreams, and he said to me, I believe passion is more for the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Than for the professional activity.
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm not totally in agreement, but I think if you don't have a hobby, you don't have passion for. Okay, so there is a correlation there that he's right on. But your professional life, it needs to be driven also with passion. So
because I've noticed I cannot do anything if I'm not interested in it. Like in school subjects, some of them I got very good grades. I could not get good grades on the other. I could not put myself to study because I did not give a damn about this.
Well, we were talking about a young guy when this conversation happened, and this young guy is studying chemist. He wants to be a chemist, and he is halfway. And halfway, he kind of found out that he doesn't have passion anymore for this. He likes it, but he doesn't have passion for it. So he was looking for the passion and said, "Oh my God, you lost passion for this, and you aren't halfway. What do he does?" And so my advice to him was to, have you ever thought about your dreams? When you dream about your future, what do you dream about? Do you dream about writing a book on chemistry or discovering a new molecule, or you believe you're going to teach chemistry, or you're going to work in a research center? What's what you think, or you think about none of those? And if you dream about you in the future, and you think backwards, the checkpoint I wanted him to do was to figure whether completing his studies in chemistry will be a good building block for that. But I tell you, in my days was different. We had less options than you guys have today. I studied chemical engineering. I had a crisis in my year 3 studying chemical engineering about whether should I stay doing chemical engineering or not. Did I study chemical engineering for the right reasons or not? I had this crisis that I didn't know how to sort out, and I explored going to a different career, and I convinced myself I need to continue. And I continue, and then what chemical engineering diploma made for me was to open the doors for a job. The truth of the matter that what it gave me really was a delightful, that I enjoy so much, thinking process.
The chemistry thinking process was
the engineering.
The
engineering. And that thinking process helped me to sort out complex situations, complex data situations, or in general business at that moment was more operational issues that I could solve in a factory. So it was the way to get to my passion. But at that moment, I couldn't tell you my passion was that. Okay.
Your gut feeling that
we don't know what we don't know, but as long as you continue being curious about it and exploring and pushing the envelope to discover a bit more of what you are, what you stand for, and you can do the best. But once you discover it, stick to it and be the best at that. You have to strive to be the best at that. And even if you need to define a niche for that, you're the best at it. Because the world is very competitive, and is tougher and tougher, not easier and easier.
There's a good book on that called Elastic.
Okay, that's a fantastic topic. Yes.
You also know about it?
And I don't know the book. No.
It's to summarize. in the past, a company, a corporate, would last 68 years, around 60 to 70 years. Now, however, the average has gone down to 30, 27 to be exact. Reason being, the world is changing so fast.
Yes.
Companies have to innovate constantly in order to survive. People have to innovate constantly in their daily lives in order to survive. We must be what we call elastic. Remove yourself from automatic thinking and be elastic. You have to be able to adapt to all sorts of different situations in order to survive.
Companies need to innovate to grow.
Mm.
Institutions, including companies, need to reinvent themselves to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so two big concepts there. Elasticity, the way I was interpreting it, I have read a few things about elasticity, is how much, how long, and how much you stretch the concept of everything you do to survive the next wave of change.
Okay, that's another interesting.
But it's a good.
I haven't read the whole book yet.
You know,
perhaps it touches on this, but
I don't know. But it's a good concept. Elasticity, by the way, is a marketing terminology, you know.
Really?
So look for it in Google and try to understand elasticity from that angle. Okay, and we can talk. For example, pricing elasticity. You know.
Yeah, of course.
That's a concept of getting closer to the marketing idea. So okay, finding your dreams, defining your dreams, and defining a path to get there. Finding your passion through your dreams will be a great way to start. If you have this passion for being an entrepreneurial and test yourself in that arena, number one activity is to solve a problem that you feel compelled to solve, and that will give you half the way to success, not 80% of success.
Okay.
You know, because you have another. The execution is very important, as we have talked about it, and every resource around you should be helpful to drive the improvement that you're looking for.
Use all resources. Okay, and the last question that interests me a lot, because I asked different people and they all give me a different answer. I believe there's like a left and a right.
Okay.
In this dimension, very specific one. And in your life, you are either being led or you are leading yourself. In essence, when I ask a religious person about a religious entrepreneur, what got you here? And they'll usually tell me God or a higher power or something has brought me here. Some others will tell me, I brought myself here. On this spectrum, where do you feel do you feel like what happened was just pure luck? How the hell did I end up here? Or do you believe it was more like, no, everything that happened was because I made it happen this way?
It would be too arrogant.
Yes, most of the people who said it was me are usually the arrogant ones.
Of me to tell you that I knew, I was planning to be in the situation I am right now, for many years, and now I'm getting and enjoying that I'm there. It's too arrogant. It's not true. But it's also true that without the things that I did for it, it would have not happened. I hate to use the word luck, and I hated to use even more when I was younger. I hated when people, you're so lucky, you got this job in this big company, you married this and you did that and whatever. It's not, I used to be I hated that. So there is nothing that good that will happen in your life if you don't work towards it. So that's the number one thing. Therefore, for people that take too much, put too much weight into how much work is being, are people that have more resistance to accept that there is a little bit of luck.
So I see that you're a very balanced person.
Yes. Now, the luck I had wouldn't happen if you don't do some things, okay?
Because all you need is a little bit of luck.
But let me tell you what was lucky for me. It was lucky for me. I joined this company, this P&G company. I didn't speak English. I didn't pass the medical exam, whatever. And I'm still was part of the company. Okay, so you can call this luck. Yeah, you can call it that I deserve it as well. But along many years, I always had somebody trusting me, believing in me, and giving me an opportunity. I had that because I did something good in the past. So I was deserving of that. But still, a person had to be there saying, yes, I give this job to Gustavo. I promote him to plant manager, I promote him to director, let me make him the VP of this role. That's the project, I only give it to Gustavo. So somebody trusted me. And to those people, I will always be grateful. Because of people, they didn't to trust me. And there are too many other people around that are as capable, or even sometimes even better, more capable than I in a given, for a given task or role or position, project. So if you take this thing from that angle, I'm not saying it's luck, but there is some people you always need to, you need to be humble enough to say, these people also gave me the chance. So you have to be very, very, very hardworking.
Hardworking, humble, and see when you have luck, grab it.
Yeah, that's another beautiful. Opportunities present to you
all the time.
And it's like you miss the bus or you take the bus. If you take the bus, then once you are there, you have to work like there is no tomorrow to be the best at and deliver the best of. And if you're not ready for that challenge, don't take the bus. Don't even take the bus. You know, if you go take the bus just to take the ride, then
you're taking the opportunity.
Yeah, it's just you've been as opportunistic as the chance that came. The bus stopped in front of you. But if you take the opportunity, you make the best of it. The best, the very best of it. That you can fail doing things, and that's not bad. But it is terrible if you fail because you didn't work hard enough.
Yeah.
So if you fail because you didn't try, you not be part of my team. I would never select a person like that to my team. I would never like to work with a person that doesn't put his heart into what they're doing to make it happen, to make it better, to make it meaningful. I will react negative to that. I don't want that person in my team.
Fair enough, makes sense. Well, thank you very much for the interview. It was much longer than I expected. And it was no Joe Rogan, but we've done, I can't tell anymore how many minutes.
I hope it was good for everybody.
Let's see. And there's a dog here as well. Bye-bye.